Hey, welcome everybody. I'm Lucian Fogoros. I'm the co-founder of IoT World, and thank you for joining today's session on building up a digital business case in energy. We have a couple of guests, and without further ado, I'd like to introduce our own moderator, Greg Orloff, a senior analyst and CDO. And also want to take this opportunity to congratulate Greg on making the top list on Who's Who report in energy sector released by Analytica. So Greg, welcome.
Thank you, Lucian. I am here today with IoT World, and I have Pete Davies. And Pete is the VP, Head of Digital Engineering Solutions at Uniper Energy. Pete, Uniper has been utilizing digitalization throughout its history to keep its assets relevant. What do you think's made the difference over the test of time?
Yeah, thanks, Greg. I think the biggest difference is actually we've been doing it for arguably 30 plus years before anybody called it digital. And it roots back to our days of the CEGB, so the Central Electricity Generating Board in the UK and the Research Centre. And a lot of those people are still here today developing solutions, and we've always moved with the technology as time has gone on. So that's a kind of cornerstone of actually these things take serious time, serious engineering effort, and serious skill to do that. Then, of course, on top of that, we've got our own assets. So Uniper has got 34 gigawatts around mainland Europe and Russia, and we've got all generating types in all modes of operation. So whenever we've then identified a problem with an asset, be it needs to reduce start costs, or needs to improve its availability, or it needs to increase its risk profile for certain modes of operation, we've been able to then target those engineering skills and the digital technologies against those problems to solve. And as a result of that, we started thermodynamic modeling 25 years ago. Sorry, more like 30 years ago, we started building software for that. 25 years ago, we started vibration monitoring, online vibration monitoring. 20 years ago was holistic market modeling, so the scheduling of assets. 15 plus years ago was holistic risk management, so not just financial, but technical, environmental and engineering and safety risk. And then 10 years ago, we did advanced pattern recognition or advanced condition monitoring before machine learning was a thing. And it was always on the basis of solve the operational maintenance problem on the asset with digital plus engineering capabilities.
Got it. So you've got quite a bit of experience, both in the power management as well as integrating a lot of the industrial IoT into that, from vibration sensors and otherwise. Let me ask you a question. How do business cases for digital solutions differ from business cases for physical assets? Because it sounds like you've migrated through that over the years.
Yeah, we have. And even today, it's still a challenge. It's not an easy topic. And one of the real fundamental reasons for that is our industry is naturally long-term orientated, large physical assets orientated. Things have capital expenditure, CapEx, that is associated to something physical. And you build an asset and you already often know your PPA, your power purchase agreement, your market structure at the end. So in terms of a understandable or low risk return, it's pretty solid. However, with digital solutions, your level of flexibility is much greater. So because it's not like building a power station, you can move one or two steps along. You can put foundations in with digital solutions, but you don't have to build the rest of the building because the foundation gives you the value. Whereas if you're building a large physical asset, you still got to build the rest of the building. And if you keep that in mind, it basically enables you to start making investment with a big goal in mind, but control your expenditure as you move along that journey. And in some cases, in Uniper, we've seen the benefits be exponentially higher than expected. And in some cases, they've been lower than expected, but we've stopped the product development. And if you keep that in mind, you're looking at digital business cases that have got a small downside. So the worst is you spend the money and you get no return, but you're looking for big upsides because actually the returns can then be exponential. So you take it on a basically a low risk tail, high upside benefits case.
Makes sense. So, if you don't mind, I mean, when you're creating a business case for a digital solution, can you walk us through some of the steps that Uniper goes through?
Yeah, so the first step is always what's your company vision and mission? Uniper, we're transitioning to delivery of a lower carbon intensity basis. So by 2035, we'll be carbon neutral in Europe. So that becomes our vision and mission. That means that environmental aspects, efficiency aspects, they become higher in priority. So that's your first step. The second step then is for each of those individual assets, how is it going to be positioned in the market today and in the future? So what is the modes of operation going to be? Is it going to be continuous base load? Is it going to be wind farms, solar farms that will be taken first by the grid and rightfully should be? Is it going to be a gas unit that's going to offer flexibility to meet the peaks and trough of the renewables? So once you understand that, you can then apply a good asset management philosophy around that on your capacity, flexibility, availability, reliability, efficiency, and costs, or what we call CARFEC. If you apply that model, based on your mode of operation, you choose the ones that give you the most value. And the reality is you can't pick every one of those 6 categories. It's just too expensive. It's just not economically sensible. So once you know the 2, 3, or 4 categories you're going to go after for the market you're in, you can then pick the solutions to the problems that are associated with that. Rather than spend money on everything, you boil it down to a number of key problems against your market condition and vision. And then based on that, you're into your third step, which is what use cases or examples do I have that prove these benefits against those asset management philosophies? So it could be on reliability, it could be on improved startup costs, and those use cases could come from your own business, where you might have piloted a digital solution, or they can come from other companies who have got similar assets in similar markets. And in Uniper, we've got most technology types in most conditions. So we have a use case for certain digital solutions against those markets. And you take those and they give you a euro value. And then in your final step, you basically build a best case, a middle case, and a worst case. And for each of those use cases, you'll apply them against those 3 cases. And then you do a probability weighting. So a P90, P50, P10 that most people will be familiar with an investment case. And it creates like a matrix of probabilities and cases. And then against that, you can do your NPVs, IRRs, whatever financial measure is important for you as a company. But you'll end up seeing a grid that will effectively contain your risk opportunity profile. So if you're in your low probability and your worst case, you're getting a payback, then you should be doing this, no questions doubt, because everything else is going to be positive. But then if you're looking at your mid case and your mid probabilities and you're starting to break even, okay, so there's potential good decision. And then in your top cases, if that's exponentially higher on your worst case and on your best case, then it's a definite must do, because it's a small amount of risk for some serious potential upside. And that matrix really tells you what level of risk and opportunity do I have that best aids the decision.
Well, it sounds like a fairly robust process, and clearly case studies are important in building that business case around that. But what happens if you don't have any specific case studies for your assets? I mean, you mentioned other industry reference points, but where do you start if that's the case?
So the best place to start there is by taking case studies from other owners and operators. So we at Uniper, as an owner operator, we have those and they're publicly available, and we can explain them to people how they work, etc. So let's say you have a fleet of gas turbines in a base loading market, but we have some cases around reliability and efficiency that would apply to those. Or let's say you have some wind farms or solar farms in an area of the world where they're always taken first by the grid. Well, we have some cases again for availability and reliability for those two, which would give you your highest returns. So that's your starting point. If your business from that and your finance side of the company is still not confident with the returns they'll get, the first step to do would be a pilot. So take an asset, take a solution, run it against that, build the business case against that. You'll get a number of use cases, run that for 3, 6, or 9 months, and then add that to your business case as a sure basis. And we've done that with a number of clients now in different parts of the world, and that honestly provides a great confidence in what these solutions can do.
I see. How about if you just talk a little bit, Pete, if you can, if you're just starting out on the digitalization of your asset base, what's the best place to start from your experience?
So the best place to start, assuming you know your mission and vision as a company, and honestly speaking, not everyone does because they're in states of transition, etc. But
Sure.
if you don't, you can always start with your own asset. What is its mode of operation? Where do I make money? Where do I lose money? And what opportunities are out there? So if you understand that, and if you don't, then talk to your traders or talk to your finance side to understand what drives the money of the asset. And then when you know that, you say, right, okay, I want to, maybe it's efficiency. Let's say it's a base loading coal asset or something. Let's take efficiency. Well, then you can look at where you're potentially making losses in the asset and say, right, I need to improve condenser performance, or I need to alter my fuel mix, whatever it is. And then you say, right, what solutions in the market exist for that problem? Rather than saying, I want to digitalize my asset, you'll spend a lot of money fast trying to digitalize something. But if you say, this is my problem, what digital tools out there can help me, you're more likely to find a payback and a return. And one footnote I would add to this is power stations are incredibly complex things. They run at high temperatures, pressures. There is no AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, ML in the world that can just run everything for you. It's not like a retail sector where if you get it right 80% of the time for customer clustering, that's okay. You're going to make 80% more money from those 80% people. But if you're right 80% of the time on a power station, that is just not good enough. So you have to combine the AI ML capability with engineering knowledge. And that is still the case today. And if you can do that, your engineers can achieve a huge amount more.
Brilliant. Thank you for the insights, Pete.
All right. Thank you, Greg. And thank you, Pete, for joining us. I wanted to wrap this up, letting you know that our next guest is going to be Eric Byers, the CEO of Adolus Corporation, a successful startup and the finalist in the top 10 New Ventures BC. Adolus entered the NVBC competition back in April among about 240 other companies, and now on the top list. So come and hear what he has to say around the industrial cybersecurity. Thanks, and this concludes